this is the first session. I think it will be easy on most of you because all of you have uploaded at least one filter up by now. So yeah, let's begin with a little theory. We'll take a break for some time in between, and then we'll finish it with other things that has to be done. Okay. So first, let's talk about Spark AR. Okay, I'll be sharing my screen. Just a second.
Shivani, you're on mute.
I'm sorry. I was saying, can you enable screen sharing, please? It is on. It is disabled.
Done. You are on mute again.
I'm so sorry. Okay, let's begin. So this is the screen we get when we open Spark AR. We have a lot of sample effects in the main screen. When you open Spark AR, we have create new. You can learn going on the official Spark AR website and stuff. So we have a lot of different templates over here, ranging from changing hair colors, which uses hair segmentation, to using wings, that is a 3D object, to real scale objects, and so on. There is world tracking, there's target tracking. You can change your eye colors. All of these are already given. So what we can do is, if you don't want to start from the beginning, so we can like choose one of these templates and use this, and we can build on that. This is a very great feature for first timers and for people who are learning Spark AI. As you don't have to start from zero, you can like take the help of these samples and you can start with your effect sharing journey. So let's talk about the main interface when you open a new project. So either you can choose one of these samples or you can just go directly to opening the new project. Here we have four options, which are plain tracking, target tracking, face tracking, and blank project. So we'll be opening blank project today. Okay. So okay. Okay, so let's begin. Yes, okay. Yeah. Okay, so can you hear me, all of you there?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. So let's start. Yeah, so we were at the viewport. Yeah, this is what you will see when you open your first project. So the space in the middle is known as the viewport. And this is where the main action takes place. Then in the left, it is you see this device, this camera. There is those all. This is where you create your scene basically. There are things that are already present in the scene inspector, which are your device, which is your camera. Then there are ambient and directional lights which are already present. So these two basically give your effects, or if you have 3D effects, realistic lighting. There are other also types of lighting that we'll learn later on. Though you can remove these if needed when you're doing 2D filter creation. Then we also have the device and the camera, which represents the device where the effect is going to be played, and the camera from where you like how the effect will be viewed, etc. So this is known as a scene. Next to the scene, we have the space known as layers. So what we can do here is we can adjust the layers of the filter. So this is vital when you have like transparent or semi-transparent materials used in your filter. So if you have something of a semi transparent material, so or a transparent material, if you keep it closer to the camera in the topmost layer, then the materials which are used in other layers will also be visible through it because it is transparent. So that's something we can work on over here. We can change the hierarchy of how the things will go. So in the layer, we can add layers from here. Layer depending on how many layers you want, the kind of materials you have. We can change the hierarchies and stuff. So coming back to the scene, we can add different types of objects over here. Face trackers, we can just do this to do it. Then we have the asset screen. So in the asset screen, we have two options. These are the assets or the textures that you will be using for your filter. It can be 2D or it can be 3D. So when we press on add assets, we get numerous options like to import from your computer, or if you want to import some LUTs that you have made, or texture animations, etc. Then there is asset library. This is a very important tool that comes in handy a lot of times. So for example, if you are making a 3D filter and there's some kind of 3D object that you want to make, but maybe you're not that good in 3D modeling, or maybe you're just learning, or maybe you don't want to use you don't have enough time to make your own 3D models. So you can go to your asset library and you can search for 3D materials and stuff over there. So one there are two ways to go to the asset library actually. One is from here, you can search the asset library, and the second one is from here. So this is also somewhere we can go to asset library too. And this is a very important thing to remember, because this comes handy a lot of times. So we have 3D objects, we have numerous sounds we want to use for maybe our games or in something. So that's there. We have patch assets. There are a lot of patch assets that have been uploaded by other Spark AR creators from around the world that could come handy. Then we have some textures over here that we can use. These are mostly environmental textures over here, which are basically used for environment lighting. That's something we'll learn about in the later part. So you can take those pictures from here. Then we have a section for blocks. These are the blocks that have been uploaded by other creators, and these also come pretty handy. Like organic movement is something that's been uploaded by Isabel, and she's an amazing creator, and we could always use a little bit of help, a shortcut kind of thing. So yeah, so we have script packages, and then we have color LUTs already uploaded in this. So basically, Spark AR assets library makes our filter making experience a lot easier. So that's something that's here. We can also add material over here, by the way. So when we create a material, that's something that will be open in this section. Then after that, let's come to the manipulators. So we have these three options over here. And all of these things, this is known as the manipulators. So manipulators, basically, if you are having a 3D or 2D object on the screen in your viewport, you can change the location, you can rotate it, you can scale it, and then it's all of this can be done. Then we have some other options over here. We can view it in different styles. Like it can be we can see it from bird's eye. Okay, just give me a second. Okay, this is not working. Just a second. Yeah. So what I did is I used face tracker here to give you an example of exactly how all of this works. So yeah. So as I was saying, you can change the location, adjust the position of your assets. You can change the way they look. You can make it into a like turn it side from the front or the back. Then after that, we have, as I said, bird's eye. After the viewport, we have an option of viewing it from different directions to so that it looks good from all the sides. The filter that you're making. So you can look at it from the bird's eye view, then from the left side, from the right side. You can view it from the front, from the back, top, etc. So that's that. So normally when we make filters, we view the filters from the backside, as that gives us a better sense of how the filter, how the objects, the textures that we are using will look on screen. So that's what, okay. So then that's the next thing we are going to learn about is the inspector view. So in the extreme right, you have a window known as the the inspector. And that's where you get to see the materials. You can change the material, the properties of the materials, for example. I'll show you one. Yeah, this is the inspector. So this is one material I made, material 0. So you can change the name of the materials, as you know, from over here. And then maybe you can try changing the material from here. And there are different shader types a material has. Those also can be changed from over here. We can do it into a flat or a standard or a physically based, a face paint, blended, etc. And there's also retouching. So if you want to just retouch the face a little, you want to make your skin a little smoother, so we can check the retouching material, and you get this window. You have an option to make the whole screen feel have that retouched smooth texture, or you can just like uncheck it and you only have your face once you add face object over here. That is. So then, yeah, normally while making 2D filters, we opt for flat material, as it gives a better sense of it makes the textures a little better on your face. But if you're doing something in 3D, if you have a 3D object or something, we would go for physically based, as that gives that will let you have a proper texture on the 3D object. If it's stone, you can you can put a normal map in it, and then you'll have those bumps and edges exactly like a stone would have. Or if you have a smooth surface, you can do that. All of that can be done by the shader type physically based. And in this, we also have different kind of blend modes for all the materials, which are alpha. There is add, there is assistive alpha, subtract, there's multiply, replace, and screen. So we reuse alpha when we are working with 2D materials. But with 3D objects, we would rather go for replace or screen, which will give a better effect of the 3D object that we are working with. Okay, one of the most important thing, this has happened with me, and I'm sure this must have happened with most of you, because when we start Spark AR, we're not exactly sure of the little things which make the filter. So one of them is advanced render options. Have you all ever faced this problem that maybe you're using a face tracker and वो अच्छे से आ नहीं रहा है, it's like you can only see half of it, it's not properly sitting in the viewport. Something like that has ever happened to you guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, it's happened.
Yeah. So that's because, and mostly happens because the depth test and right to depth options are not unchecked. This is like one of the most basic but important point that we need to always remember, because if we don't uncheck them, our material won't be visible properly. It will be like if you're using a maybe a plane or something in front of your mask, in front of your face mesh. So what happens sometimes is half of your face will be visible and half will go behind the plane. So that's something you can also work on with layers, but these things are like very important. You need to like uncheck this every time you use a face mesh with a plane or a rectangle. And then we have color encoding options over here too. One is sRGB and one is linear. So most also leaving physically based, all other shader types you mainly use linear color encoding, because that gives a better view of the texture. But when it comes to physically based textures, sRGB is automatically selected over here, which you can change, of course, depending on the kind of textures that you're using. So yeah, and then you can also adjust the opacity over here. You can make it double-sided. So if you're using, for example, something a 3D object that's covering your face, like maybe a helmet, so you would want to have it double-sided, because you have your face in front of you, and then maybe there's a little bit of the back of the helmet that you want to show, or something like that. So you want to show the insides of a 3D car model, things like that. For something like that, you need to check the double-sided option. And when it comes to physically based, you can okay, I'm going to add a face mesh over here, better understanding of what exactly I'm talking about. So currently I have added a face tracker, and it I have added a face mesh, and I have used the material 0 that we've used now. So when I'm talking about physically based materials, we can change the way it looks. If we want it to be more metallic, then we can like adjust the metallic bar. We can also adjust the roughness so that we get that perfect metallic texture. And then the occlusion strength is also something that needs to be adjusted depending on the type of 3D object, or the kind of look you want with your face mesh or with your objects. So I think these are the few terminologies that we had to see. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's that. You can also change the color. Yeah. So you can also change the color of your material. through this option, this tab. So you can make your custom colors. You can make the basic colors. You can pick one from the screen, or you can use a hex code for the specific kind of color that you want your filter, the material to have. And then we have an option of normal over here. So when you check it, you can add normal textures over here. So like if you want to have something of, just a second. I'll give you an idea. So we have normal maps. If you want something to be glittery, so we can add a glitter normal map over here. So you get a glitter texture, like the one you're seeing on this on screen. So that's how normal textures work. You can also make it smooth or a little bumpy, as I said. So these require normal maps. Then there is emission option that we have over here. It controls how the intensity of light will be emitted from the object or the material that you're using. So you can either use a texture or you can use a color. So something like this. You see how the colors are changing. The intensity, how the intensity has increased, the light. And after that, we have a environment option. For this, we have to use environment textures. That's something that's available on in the asset library. You can just import one of the textures and you can put in this. So as this is a physically based material, uh, so you would want the light to be reflected in a certain way. Maybe you can give it a, you can make it look like you're on a beach, and then there'll be like, and if you have a metallic surface, a metallic object that you're working with, so you to make it a little more realistic. So obviously when there's something metallic, you have there's a little bit of what's in front of the object that gets reflected from the surface. That's something that's the kind of effect that you can make using this environment option. So maybe you're on you can add a texture from like a beach. Like over here, this is something from something with greenery garden. This is city, all these kind of things. So these are something. This is something that will be reflected. You can import and you can add it over here. So if I remove my, so yeah, so if I remove my emission, because emission was taking all of the emission, because of emission, the lights were reflecting differently. So this is how the environment texture will look. I have taken one with greenery and sunrise. It is known as sunrise in the assets library. So as you can see, the lights emitting over here, the color of the lights is different. You can see a little bit green on the lower side and something like a bright light on the upper side. So this is how the texture will look if you use the environment option. Then let's go to flat. This is something that we use for the 2D materials. This is one of the most used ones actually. We have the same thing. We have all these same blend modes: add, associative, alpha, subtract, multiply, replace, screen, etc. And we have opacity over here. We have the advanced render options. As you see, the color encoding over here is linear because this is a flat shader type. And then we also have environment texture over here. But you can change it into colored ones for flat kind of shader types. So yeah, this is the flat shader type. Then we have a standard one. This is also good for, this is mostly used for, again, 3D objects. We don't use it for flat 2D objects a lot. So it has a little bit of some other kind of options over here. So we have a specular. This is how how the color will highlight on the surface of the material, how it will shine. This is something that is available only in the standard shader type. You can also give it You can choose between a texture or a color for this, and we can adjust the smoothness. How much do you want the light to emit, and what depending on your object and the kind of filter you're trying to make. So yeah, so look, this is the color I've chosen, and this is how it will look on my object, depending on how smooth or how much I want it to be seen. Then there is normal over here, same thing as physically based shader type. We have emission, we have alphas. The next is face paint. This is something that is mostly used for filters like the ones where we make tattoos, face tattoos, or maybe want to paint something on the face, like mostly for face tattoos. But I hope you get the point. Here too, we can have color and textures. You can choose between textures over here. Then we have a opacity slider to decide on how much we want it to, how much opaque we want it to be. We have brightness and VJ influence, which will basically determine how your texture will look when you use this shader. And then we also have the advanced render options over here, depth test and micro depth test. Then we have other full shader type. This is blended. This is also not, this is mostly for a specific kind of objects only. That's something we'll learn later on. Right now we're just doing like an introduction, so that's something for the later part. And there is one for shader assets. This will help you code shader things. You know, the people, you know, we have seen those filters with crazy shader scripting and stuff. This they have made it made water textures and the ones with the fire flame textures and stuff. So that's something you can make using the shader asset. And then we have our retouching, the good old retouching. This is I guess the most used texture in Spark here, because no matter what you're making, if you're using making a makeup filter, if you're making a natural beauty filter, or if you're making something like a game, this is retouching is something that's used the most. It's used in all the effects that have face tracking in it, you could say. So yeah, that's all about the inspector. Here you will get to see how the filter will look, on you, uh, on your phone. So you have options of iOS devices, Android devices, resizable window, etc. So mostly the best practice is to use resizable window, specifically when we make something which consists of 2D or 3D text, because then we get to know how it will look on all the devices that someone could ever use. So yeah, and then this is how you can undock or dock this window. Over here you have an option to simulate touch. So you know there are few filters where we use touch gestures for some or the other reasons. So we can try it out over here on this window by clicking on simulate touch. So yeah. Okay. So now let's come back to the scene window. So here we can add, as I mentioned earlier, in the scene window we can add different types of objects. There are a few objects that are already available, already pre-defined in the scene object, in the scene window. As I mentioned, these are devices, camera, ambient light, directional light, and a microphone. Microphone is used when you're using the audio reactive filter. We'll learn about that later on. So yeah, we can click on the add objects tab, and then there are a few sections. in here. So one is scene understanding. In the scene understanding section, we have basically 4 types of trackers. One is face tracker, which is like mostly used tracker that we use in Spark AR. So face tracker basically tracks your face. Then the second tracker is known as plane tracker. Plane tracker is something which is used for the back camera, and we can track different planes to it. Like, so we have, like for an example, we have a 3D object, 3D model that we want to place on a plane, on the plane surface. So we can use plane tracker for that kind of filters. And then what happens is, once when you open the back camera, it will detect your plane, and once it detects the plane, that's where the object will be placed. It can be in any axis, by the way. It does not have to be only in x-axis. It can be in x, y, or x or y axis, however you want it to be. And yeah, so currently Spark AR only supports one plane tracker at a time. You cannot do multiple plane trackers. So if you want to maybe target like 2 or 3 things together, there's some other way we can do it. So that's by target tracking. So target tracking is another kind of tracker which is used for the back camera. So what target tracker basically does is, you set in a target for this kind of filter. Maybe it's a 2D image. It's most of the time a 2D image. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, so we were at plane tracker, right? So yeah, target tracker. So target tracker basically tracks a 2D image, and once you place the 2D image in front of the camera, it will scan the image and you will get the filter you want. You can add you can add 3D objects in it, but it won't detect face, because face tracker, you're not tracking your face right over here, you're tracking only a certain type of target. And it is a movable target. You can also do multiple target trackings now. Before, so I think it's available. It just recently got available that you can do it for multiple targets. At first, SparkCare only allowed you to target one image or like one target you could track, but now there are multiples you can do. And there are amazing kind of filters that you can make using target trackers. You can track literally any kind of image, any kind of 2D image, and you can make amazing filters using this one. We will learn about this in the third or fourth session, I guess. But yeah, this is one of the best, one of the most underrated and best feature of Spark AR. Then the fourth type of tracker we have is hand tracker. It is currently not available for Instagram. You can only do it for Facebook, but it will hopefully soon be available for Instagram too. So yeah, that's a little about hand tracking. So these are the 4 trackers that Spark AR uses. We are mostly going to use face tracker for all of our filters, and later on we'll learn maybe a little about plane and target trackers too. Now coming to the second part of the object, second section I would say, which is 3D objects. So in 3D objects there are basically 5 kind of objects that can be used. The first one is a flat 3D plane, but there's a okay. So there's a difference. So in for 3D objects we have a flat 3D plane, but if you look into the 2D object section, we have a rectangle, which is also very similar to the plane, but the only difference is that we can move plane in all the 3 axis. We can also move it in the Z axis depending on the depth of the scene, how we want it. Do we want it to be a little far off from the camera, or we want it to be a little closer to the camera? That can be done by a plane, but not by a rectangle. We'll get to the rectangle soon. So this is about plane. The second 3D object that we are looking into is the null object. It's basically like a container. You can group your objects into using a null object. So if you're making a filter which has a lot of material, a lot of objects, there are a lot of things going on in the scene. So that's when you can use a null object to group your objects into various kind of groups, and then you can work out that way. So that's about the null object. Then we have 3D objects. So 3D objects or assets are something that you can make using Blender or some other program, and you can import it into Spark AR, or you can just take one from the asset library and you can use it over here. And after that, we have a face mesh. Face mesh is basically a 3D face model, and you can track your expressions and you can track your whole face with it. So this is something we use when we are making a face tracking filter. If we want to make something that reacts with the face, maybe if I wink, kind of some effect will start. If I smile, some kind of effect will start. Or if I'm doing some kind of makeup filter. So this is the kind of, this is what we use. Then we have an option for 3D text. So we have two kinds of text in Spark AR. One is 3D, one is 2D. So this is something that we can add to the scene. Then another one, the last of the 3D objects we have is a vector object. We can, this is not supported for Instagram again. This is something that can be used only for Facebook. So yeah. Now we are going back to the third section, which is the 2D objects. We have a canvas over here. Basically, when you're using a rectangle to make some kind of object, you have to first open a canvas. It is like a container, like the null object was a container for 3D objects, other 3D objects. Canvas is a container for 2D objects. So if you want to use something like a 2D text, or if you want to use text rectangle in your filter, you will first have to import, you first have to insert canvas into the scene. So yeah. Then we have rectangle. Rectangle, as I mentioned earlier, rectangle is a 2D object, so it can be only moved into X or Y axis. You cannot change the Z axis of it, but you can do a plane. So that is the main key difference between rectangles and planes in our scene. Then we have something known as 2D stack. So this is relatively newer. This wasn't there in Spark AR for a long time. You can consider it to be very new. This is when you want to stack 2D objects one under another, a lot of 2D objects together, like maybe a lot of rectangles together, and use the same material, different material. You can do all of that. You can render the stack layout in the scene. We'll learn about all of this in detail later on. Then we have our 2D text. So this is the infamous 2D text. Spark AR has a lot of policies which actually don't let you use 2D text without having it inbuilt in the scene. So yeah, you can use 2D text. If you use 2D text with face tracking, then that's how you can do it. This is mostly used for, the kind of filters we make, the VCR filters, or you're making a frame and then you want a timestamp, you want a day stamp, something like that. So that's something that can be done by 2D text. So if I open 2D text, you can obviously in the inspector window, you can see you can change the name from over here. That's the first thing you can do. Then you can this is the layering. You can layer it into different kind of layers as you want. This is for visibility. You can change the width and the height of the text. You cannot change the Z axis again because this is 2D. So it will only you can only move it around and scale it in x and y axis only, and then you can change the position of it in x or y axis. And this is something known as spinning. This is how your filter will text or your 2D object. This is something that's there for all the 2D objects spinning. This is something where with which you can pin your object to a specific location or to a specific side. So because filters, text, 2D text and 2D rectangles look a lot different in all kind of different devices. So maybe I have an iOS device. It will look a little different. The position will look a little different to what it will look in one of the Android devices. It basically differs. So once you pin the filter to one specific side, uh, then that's how the orientation of the object to the object will be, and that's how it will look in all of the devices used. This is something that is very important when you use a 2D object or specifically a 2D text, because it does not look the same in all the devices. And you can see here in the right, they have given you a view of how the 2D text will be aligned. So I've pinned it to the left, and you can see in the right, there's a small animation going on showing you where the text will actually be located. In the same way, you can do it in the all directions, or you can just pin it in the center. Then the typography, you can, of course, you can put this whatever kind of text you want over here. And you can also check the editable column, and you can make the text editable. You can choose from all these. Then when it comes to font of the text, you can change it from over here. You can also import your own fonts. So what you can do is you can go to Google Fonts or some other place, and you can download a font file, and you can just upload it over here, and you'll get to use that font for the story text in Sparkle. You can change the font, you can change the color, you can change the alignment of how it will look and how it will be line spacing, there's letter spacing, all of these stuff to make it a little more presentable and editable according to your filter, the kind of filter you want to make. So yeah, and yeah, you can scale it, you can rotate it a little. And here's where you add material to it. Then we have an option to enable it for different categories. When we have front camera, we have back camera, we have preview and capture. So maybe you want the text to be visible in the front camera, but you don't want it to be visible in the back camera. You don't want to use the text for back camera, so you can just uncheck it. Or vice versa, you can, like, if you want it for back camera and not for front camera, you can uncheck it for preview while capturing. If you want the text to not be visible when someone takes a video or a photo, then you can uncheck this, or you can remove it in the preview. So yeah, then we have an option of patch over here. We can create a patch. We have two options. We have one for object tab and one for producers. So if you click object tab in the patch editor below, you'll directly get your 2D object with a object tab. So this is like a start. You can like directly create an object tab patch and work on it if you want to make it visible, invisible, whatever. So for example, you want this you want to make it invisible. You want the text to be invisible once you tap on it. We can just do it over here. We can we have this small arrow. We can once we click on this arrow, we get it in the patch editor, and then we can go here and we can simulate touch. So once we touch, okay, wait. This is how I'll do it. Okay, so you can see. So object tabs, there are two types of tabs again, object tabs and screen tabs. So now we have used object tab over here directly from the patch object tab produce patch from the inspector's screen. So what basically I did is I connected the object with the object tab. That's something that happened automatically. And then we brought in the visibility over here by clicking on this arrow. And so basically when you do this, it automatically gets invisible at first, and then so you have to add a not patch to reverse the signal. So now it is visible at first, and when you tap on the object, it will go invisible. So this is something you can do with the object tap patch. Okay. So now moving to the lights. These lights are all basically, they will determine how your 3D object is rendered in the scene. So we have 5 types of lights. This is the first one is the ambient light. What it does, it will give same amount of lighting for your object from all the sides. So that's, and this is already present in the scene window once you open your Spark AR. Then the second one is directional light. So directional light, you can place it at any distance and it will shine on objects from different directions differently. So if you keep like, it will act like example, sunlight. It will act like sunlight. If you place it in front of you, it will you can render it will render lighting as if there's sunlight that's been projected on your 3D object. You can use it in any direction and in any axis, that is X, Y, or Z. So if you import a 3D, if you import a directional light, you can change the position and through over here, X, Y, and Z axis, and you can rotate it as you want. As in over here. And you can also scale it to be of different sizes if you want it to be bigger, or if you want it to be a little smaller than its actual size, and that can be done from here. And when you import a directional light to the scene window, in the inspector window, you get its properties. So you can layer it, you can make it visible or invisible. You can change the color and you can change the intensity. So if I change the color, if you'll see my 2D object over here, the text, it has become invisible light currently right now because we have directional light, which is putting light on it from the front, and the light is a white color, and so is the text, so you cannot see it properly. So if we, for example, change the color of the light, you can see the color that has been projected on the 2D text will also differ. And if we also change the intensity, you'll see how the color is changing on the text. So yeah, you can actually make, use this to make sunlight. You can give it a yellow color, and then you will have a sunlight effect using this light. Then obviously we can change the position, scale, and rotation from here too. We can manually enter the XYZ coordinates if we wish. And this arrow, we can use this arrow to bring we can bring it to the patch editor if we want to give it some effect or something. That was directional light. Then next light is the environment light. This is something I mentioned earlier as well. This gives you an effect it gives you a more realistic effect. As I said, if you want something like an object should reflect that you're on a beach or you're in a garden, so that's something we can do over here. I imported this sunrise from Spark AR asset library. We can use that in the environment light texture option, and we can rotate it accordingly. So let's if I change my material to a physically based shader type, my face material, so you can see how it change, how the environmental light basically changes how your material looks. I have made the directional light invisible so that you can see environmental light better. So yeah, you can see it is moving a little. You can see the very little, you can see near the nose how it's changing its position. The way it will reflect on the material can be changed through the rotation of environment light. Okay, moving to the next one is a point light. Point light is a spear shaped light source which can be used to maybe make something like a lamp. So if you want to make a filter which depicts, you want to make an object which depicts a lamp or a headlight, something like that, we can use the point light. Again, you can change the scale, the rotation, and the position from over here. You can from here too, and you can adjust the range of the lights. So if you see, if I keep it at 0, you cannot see the light affecting the our material. And as you increase it, you'll see how the face mesh is getting whiter, depicting the white point light that you're projecting on it. Yeah, we can change the intensity as well. We can change the color over here. So you will understand how the range works better. We can also go to birds and we can change its how far or close it should be from the camera. So basically over here you see the small rectangle. This depicts your camera, the position of the distance of your camera from the screen. And using this, we basically adjust all the lightings that we want to use for the filter. So if I want something to be far away, I'll take it this side beyond the camera. If you want it to be closer to the camera, then we take it near the camera. And as you see how the intensity of the pink light changes on the on our face mesh material, depending on how far or close the light is. So yeah, that's point light. Then we have spotlight. Spotlight is also basically like a cone shaped light, as you can see, and you can use it to make a torch light or a headlight. It has like, I'll show you. We'll go back to okay, so we are inserting the spotlight over here. So it is basically cone shaped and it has two cones in it. One is the inner cone and one is the outer cone. It is a cone shaped light, as you can see in the viewport. And you can change the intensity of the outer cone and the inner cone respectively. Don't have to do it together. So you have an option. If you look in the inspector screen over here, you have an option to change the range, how big or small the light will be, of course, and you can change how much the inner or the outer angle should be. So if you want to make it like you want to make it like a headlights, you can like make it smaller and you can adjust the outer and inner angles accordingly. I'm adjusting the outer angle over here and I can adjust the inner angle too. that will really help you with how the lighting will look in specific parts of of the object that you're using. So you can like if you keep inner angle in the inner angle, you can have more intensity compared to the outer angle, and you can change how much area it will cover. And there's also exclude option in the lighting. In all of the lightings, there is an exclude option. So if you have multiple layers, you can exclude some of those layers. Maybe I have maybe I have a highlighter in layer 1, and maybe I have all the other face makeup textures, like there is lipstick and blush, whatever that is used in layer 0, and I want the spotlight to be only concentrated on the highlighter, that is the layer 1. So I can exclude layer 2 over here. So as you can see, I've excluded layer 0. We only have one layer in our filter currently. You can see it has excluded all the whole of the face mesh area. You cannot see the light anymore. So yeah, that's how this works. Then we have the last section in the objects side is the effects section. We have two effects over here. The one is speaker and one is particle system. So speaker is something that is used when you're making an audio reactive filter or a filter with inbuilt music. So maybe if you start a filter with some kind of music, you need to add speaker to it so that you can hear the music or tone sound, whatever you've used in your camera, in your device. I'm sorry. And if you're making there are these kind of filters where you voice changer filters, where you can change your voice, you can make it high pitched or low pitched or whatever. So for that also you need to have a speaker. And you in the if you go to the inspector screen, you can see we have an audio tab. So if we click on the audio tab, we have two options, that is microphone and external source. So if you connect it to the microphone, that's when that's done when you want to make a filter where you want to give an input to the microphone, and you want to hear the output or change the output or the same output, whatever that is. This is used for voice changing effects. You need to add in microphone over here. And if you want to make a filter where maybe with some interaction that you do, after some interaction, you will want to have, or you won't want to play some audio, some kind of tone or some music. So for that, we'll have external source connected over here, and we'll import the audio, whichever you want to use in the filter from over here. So yeah. Okay, yeah. So if you want to import a tune or something, you'll have to go to playback controllers. You have to select an audio playback controller. And over here, you can choose the audio from, you can search it from the asset gallery or import gallery, and you will use it over here. And that's how you can link it. You can play it. You can decide when you want to play it. You can set interactions to it. Maybe tap to play, smile to play, or after a certain effect or certain animation is over, then play. So all of that can be done using this patch, or you can just loop it, and you can decide when you want to reset using this. And then the last one, the last object that we have here is the particle system. So the particle system can be used for various things. If you want to depict maybe rain or confetti or fireworks, or or anything else, something with particles you want to do, water, you can also make water out of it. So that's when you use emitter system. If you go to the inspector screen, you can see you have an option to change the layer as you have with every other object. And then you have a tab to make it visible and invisible. The positioning, rotation, and scale can be done from over here. You can enable it for front or back camera, or if you don't want it for one of those, you can uncheck it in this section. Then we come to the emitter section, which has a type. So there are 4 types of the way the emitter will act. First one is a point. So from one specific point, the emitter will start, and we have a line. So the particles will emit from a line. Then we have a plane. So the particles will emit from a plane. And we have a ring. So in ring, the particles will emit in a ring circular manner in shape of a ring. Then we can, if we go to point, we have an option to select local or world. So world is local is it will be just in the in your camera, like in a specific certain area. And if you select world space, wherever you point the camera, you will get that you will get that the emitters over there. It will be in a world, it would only be defined to a certain part of the camera, but if you move your camera around, you'll get to see it everywhere. So that's when you use world space. You can change the birth rate over here, depending on what you want to make the emitter to look like. The spray angle, how do you want the emitter to be sprayed, at which angle, all of it can be done over here. X, Y, and Z axis is there. So you can direction it accordingly. Then the speed of the particles, how fast you want them to be emitted. You can, if you want it to be fast or if you want it to be super slow, that's something you can do over here. Yeah, so 10 is like 100 is like it's stop. Then there is warm up. Next option is warm up. So basically, if you want to, after interaction, suppose tap to screen, after you want the particle system to start once you have tapped on the screen, but you want it to start after a few seconds, like after 2 seconds, you want it to start. So you can use warm up over here. It will, so if how many ever seconds you add in here, that much time it will take to start after the interaction is done. So that's what warm up is for. Then we have now we have a section for particles. We can scale the particles to be how much ever big or small you want them to be. Then we can also decide the lifespan of the particle. So maybe you want the particle to be short-lived. You don't want it to be you don't want it to be in the whole scene. So if you want something to just be in a specific scene, you can change the lifespan. So if I keep lifespan 0.1, so you can see it's not covering the whole screen, it's covering a certain area only, because after that the lifespan is over. So accordingly, you can change the lifespan and decide how much time you want the emitter to be visible or to work. Then there's an option over here to uncheck billboarding. To check billboarding, you don't have to worry about the angular velocity or the rotation of the emitter. But if that's something you want to specifically use, if you want to make maybe petals which are free falling, so you would want it to have a little bit of rotation, or you want to add a little bit of angular velocity to it to make it look more natural. That's when you use these two options to change how it will look. To change to define the angular velocity or the rotation of the emitter. And if that's not something that concerns you, or that's not something that you want to do for your filter, you can just check on the billboarding. And once you do that, angular velocity and rotations will not be visible or won't be for use for us, but we'll have spin and tilt. This is also kind of how you want your particles to move and the way you want your particles to look. If you want them to spin a little while falling down or going up, so that's something that you can do using this. If you want them to tilt a little, all of that will be taken care with these two sections or tabs. Next we have is the shape. That basically defines how you want the particle to be shaped. So most of the time we use plain shape, and we use a material. If you want to make something like sparkles falling down or confetti falling down, we will use plain shapes. But if you want to make something like glitter, like the glitter effect, if you want uh, glitter to be falling from on your screen or some effect like that, you will use cube. If I add material, just a second, I'll show you how the cubes will look. You can see they are in the shape of 3D cube now. Yeah, here we go. Now you can see the shape better, I guess. So this is this yeah. So this is first option we have is plane, and the second option we have is cube. We can make the particles in a cubical shape. This one is used if you want to make glitter, something like a glitter object. Then we have spheres. We have some other options like torus. Maybe if you want to make donuts fall out of the sky or something, that's something you can do with this. Then we have cylinder. Okay, just a second.
Mom, you are on mute.
Oh God, sorry. I've been doing this for the fifth time, I guess, today. So yeah, I was talking about the emitters. We also have star and triangle based pyramid shape over here. So these are all kind of shapes that you can use for your emitter. Emitter is actually one of the most underrated object type, I guess, because it is very fun. We can make like amazing things using emitters, but because it's not used a lot, and mostly when it's used, people just use planes to make some confetti or something, but a lot more can be done with it. You just need to use the imaginations. So yeah. Then moving on, we can choose the radius and height of the shape that we want to use. Then of course there's material. Next to material, we have force. So when we are making something fall from the sky on in a filter, we want to make it look realistic, right? So we'll have to use a little bit of physics for it. So that's when the force section comes into play. First we have acceleration, and we can adjust the strength of the acceleration of how we want it to be. Next we have drag option, and then there is again interaction where we can create object tab patch or a producer patch to make something in the to make it interactive in the patch editor option. So that was one of the last objects that we have here. Another thing that I wanted to show you is whichever object that you use for your filter, you have another, you have something. Okay, I'm giving an example. So I'm choosing a plane. For this example, you have a option of actions over here. So this is very helpful. What happens is if you want to create some kind of animation which is like repetitive, so that's something you can do from over here. You can click on the actions and you already get some pre-made points or pre-made animations. So first one is you can decide the position on face if you're using a face tracker. You won't have to go to the patch editor and find the patches and then connect them together. You can just go over here and you can see if you want if you want the object to be on your cheek or on your eyes, on your forehead. All these positions on the face can be used, can be selected from over here and used. Then if you're using something that is if you're making a filter that uses back camera, so maybe a target tracking or a plane tracking filter or even a face tracking filter with back cam, and you want to place one certain object at a specific place in the world. So that's something you can do with this option, which is place in world space. So what it will do is it will take your object into the world space and it will fix it to a certain point in the world. So when you move your camera, if you move to that, so if you move your camera to that one certain point, then only you will be able to see that object. So that looks more realistic. That looks like the object has been placed over there in reality, whereas it's just AR. That's one cool thing we can do from over here. Okay, let me just, this is too distracting. I'll just switch off the emitter. Then we have the animate option. These are very basic animations, repetitive animations, which are used very often. So we have spin, float, blink, pulse. So it will automatically create a patch, a whole patch for you with loop animation transitions so that your object is pulsing over there. Same way we can do blink. Then there is float and spin. All of these are the actions that can be that you don't have to work for it. Basically, it's given to us by Spark AR. So that's how you can animate it. Okay, I'll just do few more things and then we can take a small break. So now, obviously, all of us know this is the patch editor. Here's where the actual magic happens and the actual scene interactions happen. And you can right click on the patch editor and you'll get numerous patches. I'm not going to go into depth in this right now because we don't have that much time, I guess. So yeah, but basically these are the divisions of the patch editor. You can animate it if you want. In the animations tab, you will have animation player, transition, keyframe, and everything, all of this. And what they do, you can actually read it over here and figure out. It's not that difficult, to be very honest. If you want something to be on loop, like the ones we saw right now, those will be done using loop animations. If you want the animation to be one single thing, like just once you want it to play, then we can do use animations patch. Then if there's pre-made animation in some other software and you just import it in Spark AR, we can use animation player. We can use frame transition to control the frames and animation sequences. And we can use keyframe to like edit custom transitions between set of values or to set of textures. Then these are progress and transition is also something that's used for animation. Then we have another tab here for audio. So all of these patches are basically used to control or make audio with reactive filters or voice changer filters. Distortion and distortion is something that is used for voice changing effects. And there is a controller if there's like if you want to play an audio clip like multiple times. So this is something you can use. There's an equalizer. This is also something that's used for voice changing effects. Reverb is something that's used for exchanging effects. So yeah, and this audio analyzer, which is not supported by Facebook. This is how you make audio reactive filters. Basically, you use audio analyzer patch, but it's only supported for Instagram. So then there are other patch editing options. There is device. You can use device motion. There are face landmarks. These are the same face landmarks that we saw over here in the actions. So if you don't want to go over here and do all that mehnat, you can just go to the actions tab and you can place it. So that's like a shortcut. Next we have interactions, blink, eyebrows lowered, eyebrows raised, happy face, sad face, object tap, screen pinch. All of these, there are like a lot of interactions that can be used for your filter, and you'll find all of them over here. Then we have a logic section in the patches. All these are used to make a logic that we'll learn later on. We'll maybe make a filter using these. Then there is one for maths. That's also going to be later on. And there is shaders, different kind of patches that can be used to make filters with really cool shaders. This is one of the most interesting and coolest concept in Spark AR. So yeah, then there is one for time. So what basically this does is, if you don't want to use a screen interaction, if you don't want to use something like tap, smile, laugh, vagera, and if you want the animation or the audio to start as soon as your effect starts running, this is something that you can use. So once your effect is started, your effect is opened in the camera, that animation will start. Then we have picker UI and slider UI. This is also very important. This lets the user have a lot of options. So for the filters, so you must have seen filters with sliders and pickers, like a lot of options below, with eyelashes, without eyelashes, with color, without color, different types of hair colors, etc., etc. That can be done using picker and slider UI. And then we have another set of patches, utility patches. This is also something I cannot explain to you right now because of the time constraint. There's a lot. I'll just something we'll learn later on. So yeah, this is all about patch editor. There is an option to show map over here. So when sometimes you have like a lot of things in patch editor, you have a very big effect. So that's when you use the map to find a certain patch or find a certain section of the patches where you want to work. You can just search the patch over here directly. If I have a tap screen interaction, if I have an object tap somewhere and I cannot find, I can just search it from here. So yeah, this is all about patch editor. Then we have console. Console is used basically when you're scripting, and if there is some kind of error or warning in your script that you want to check or that you want to see, this is where you'll get to see all the errors and warnings. So that's what console is used for. Then we have asset summary. Asset summary basically shows you how big the file size is. So the thing with Instagram is if you want to make a filter for Instagram, you can only the file size should be maximum 4 MB. If it's more than that, it cannot work on Instagram. It has to be compact. So that's something we can see over here. And we have different options also. So for like obviously filter working in iOS will be more different and more efficient than it will work on older Android. So we get to see how much the file size will be in all three types, in iOS and Android and older Android. And then we can check out which texture is taking how much space over here. That's something we can see over here. Then in the right bottom, we have review. I have this option, if you can check, review one unused asset. If you click on that, you will get to see all the assets that you have not used. So again, if you're making some huge filter with a lot of textures and you don't know, you know, it's very time consuming and sometimes very irritating to go down and find कौन सा वाला मैं use कर रही हूँ, कौन से textures use नहीं किए हैं. So this will help you see all those textures, and then you can just remove it if that's not something you want to use, and you can just remove it. So this is also very helpful. At least for me, I found this very helpful. because I sometimes make a mess while using patch editor with a lot of patches. I cannot keep it organized. मैं बहुत बार mess कर देती हूँ, and then I forget which textures I have used and which I haven't. So this comes very handy to me. So this is another thing. One last thing I'll show you is this project tab over here. So what this does is it shows missing assets if there are some textures that have been deleted and you cannot find them. यहाँ पे मिल जाएंगे. And another thing is edit properties. This is also very important. So edit properties, you can choose what platforms you want your filter to be on. Do you want it to be on your Instagram, Facebook ads, Facebook, or camera and existing media? You can choose all of that from over here. You can check on your capabilities, like what kind of objects are you using and what are their capabilities. One thing that you need to know is when you're using a when you're using face tracker or making a face tracking filter, make sure to go over here in the properties section and go to the face tracking section and make sure that you change the accuracy from standard to high. This will ensure your filter is better performing, right? It will make the accuracy also better. So फिर वो sometimes it happens ना कि it does not detect your face properly. वो सब नहीं होगा. And then you can change the number of faces you want to over here. 1 2 3 4 5 चाहिए उतने. So that's something you can do over here. This is something that you should always remember because it's very important to make high efficient and good looking filters. Then let's go to the compression section. Compression is also very important for Spark AR because we only get 4 MB to make the filters, and sometimes we want the effects to be so exorbitant and so overly dramatic and good looking कि वो 4 MB minimum size है वो हम भूल जाते हैं. So you need to compress it very nicely. Like compression is your best friend when you make filters for Instagram. And so you can compress it outside also, दूसरे software से, and you can compress over here also. And that's when you need to take a look at this section. You need to go to the properties and go to compression. I need to check default compression method, what you want it to be. If you are importing a texture into Spark AR, do you want it to automatically be compressed or do you not want it to be compressed? तुम खुद जाके compress करोगे. That's something you can choose over here. And another is the resolution. So this affects how your filter quality will be. If you want your filter quality to be very good and realistic and very nice looking, you should always keep this in maximum, and you should always take the quality to 100%. This is also, guys, very important. These are the small things that actually make or break your filters. Because filter बना लिया, but वो अच्छा नहीं दिख रहा है. It's not looking as good as you expected it to be because texture का size ज़्यादा है, या maybe resolution is not that great. So those are the little things that you need to mainly focus on and always keep in mind. So that's something you can do it over here. Always make sure to keep the quality at 100% and resolution at maximum to have the best of the quality and AR experience that you can give to the users. Next is a license wala section. It basically shows all the licenses that you're using. If you use something from the asset library, uska license वगैरह will come over here. So that's the last section over here. Yeah. So that now we can take like a 10 to 10 minutes break, I guess. Let's come back at 8:10, and then we'll talk a little about concept building of AR filters, what you should always consider before making an AR filter, how you should plan it before making the filter. That's something we'll talk about in 10 minutes. Okay, so let's take a 10 minutes break. If you guys want to ask any questions or you want to tell me something, that's something we can do right now too, or you can just go take your breaks. Cool. सो गए क्या? Okay, let's meet back at 8:10.
Okay, ma'am.
Hi, Shivani, you there?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, Shivani, if the meeting is over, can you stop the recording, please?
Actually, we have taken a small break till 8:10, and then I'll take for more 15 minutes max, and then we'll stop.
Okay, sure, no problem.
Okay, it's 8:11. We'll have a small session about designing and concepting for the filters. I don't think everyone has joined here. Let's wait for 1 more minute and then we'll start. Okay, I'll just send a message in the group. Okay, so Pratik, your mute is you're not mute. You're not on mute. Yeah. Okay. Let's just start, and others will catch up. So we are talking a little about designing and concepting for the filters. On what are the few key points that you should remember when you're making filters to make them go viral or to make them successful per se. Sorry. So let's start. One of the most like the first focus you should have is to have a solid use case. It should have a very solid use case. While making the filter, maybe you can ask these questions to yourself, like or maybe you can think about these problem statements, like I want to. You can make a filter to express who you are or what you're doing or what you're feeling, or if you want to connect with others and have a conversation, if you want to be funny, silly, or something other than myself, something that is not human, or you want to be a character, you want to make something for your favorite characters, for your favorite movie. If you want to use a filter to create awareness about the current news or something that is social cause that is close to your heart, or on some topics which are in trend or some trends that are going on Instagram. All of these things are something you should always think about or remember when you're first deciding on starting your filter. Second, you need to make it social. You need to make it as interactive as possible and as social as possible. So if I make a filter, a face tracking filter which only tracks one face versus a face filter which tracks two or more faces, the one with multiple faces will be more successful because it is social. I can use it with my friends, I can use it with my family, and that's something that users look for when they try on a filter. Make it fun for them, for their friends, so that they can do it together. And then another thing you need to always keep in mind is to keep it simple. You cannot give them 100 instructions. Pehle screen ko tap karo, fir smile karo, fir back camera kholo. You cannot give them so many instructions because you are someone who's making the filter. They don't know a lot about it. They are not regular AR users per se. So that's why you have to keep it simple. If you make something very complex with complex instructions, it becomes a little frustrating for the user. It becomes a little frustrating for the users, and they basically won't use it if it's too complex. ये नहीं यार, ये तो जम ही नहीं रहा है, चालू ही नहीं हो रहा है filter. ऐसा, they'll think that way and they'll just not use it basically. The less effort the user has to put, the more successful your filter will be. Always remember this. The less the effort the user needs to put in, the more the more successful the filter will be. Then you should always check the design if it is working on different device types, because as I mentioned earlier, the filter will look different in iOS and in older Android or in Android. So you need to make sure that the filter is interactive and it's looking beautiful basically in all of the devices. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि the iOS people are having a wonderful AR experience and the Android users cannot even load it. So that's something you should always make sure that the filter should be inclusive of all the kinds of devices. Then design, you should also keep in mind design for repeat use. So you have to always make sure that the design that you're making for your filter should be something which people will always again and again go back and use. It should not be a gimmicky filter, as some say. That's gimmicky filter is something you'll use once and you will be like, "Ha, yaar, isme kya?" And you won't ever use it again. But you should always design so that the user goes back to the filter again and again to use it. It should be engaging. It should be flexible, as in you should, if possible, use a lot of user interface options that we have. You should either use picker or a slider in your filter to let the user customize their filter on how they want it to look. Then you should always make sure when you're making the filter to add to the camera experience. So don't do the, so there are some filters which like change you completely. So that those kind of filters are not something that people will go again and again to use. The filters shouldn't make people completely unrecognizable, or they shouldn't take whole of the camera view, because we are making AR. We are we're augmenting different kinds of virtual objects into real world, and we're not actually covering the whole real world. Like, I hope you get what I'm trying to say. The user should be able to see its actual camera message, the actual world too, because we are augmenting stuff in it. We're not changing the whole reality using the filter. So things like that will actually help the filters to be very successful. Another thing is when you're using text, 2D text, you should always avoid the screen edges, because there is a chance the screen sizes differ and the way the text look on different devices differs. So you should always make sure that you don't you don't use or you don't place any kind of object near the edges of the screen, as sometimes that can be obscured. Next is you have to make sure to give people something to capture with lowest amount of effort. As I said, the lesser the effort the user puts in, the more successful your filter is. So that's something you should always keep in mind. Very important. And then there's another thing that we should always take care of, is we should keep interactions very obvious. The triggers should be minimal and natural. For example, if you use object interaction of pinching the screen, so you should always use it to like make an object bigger or smaller. You shouldn't use pinching of screen to start some other kind of animation or something, because that's not natural. That does not come natural to us, and the user does not understand this basically. So you have to make sure that it is natural to our human moments, the things we do. The interactions should be very easy and natural. If we tap, to band ho gaya, like object was invisible. If we pinch, the object scales, goes smaller or bigger. So these are some things that you always have to remember. And you should avoid using gestures that conflict with system level commands. So these are the interactions that people are already familiar with on the mobile devices, and changing how these commands work can be confusing, very confusing. So basically, things like when you double tap, camera view switches from front cam to back cam. If you want to zoom into camera, normally people pinch in or out to scale, or you touch and hold camera to camera capture, and then for video zooming you touch and hold, or you like pinch. And swipe left is something people do to go back from one screen to another. So these are all very system level commands which are almost generic to all the devices that people use. And these interactions should be doing the same things like actual system level commands do. So it is more easier and smooth experience for the users. And next thing you have to make sure is keep interactions to minimum. Aisa nahi ki in a filter you have used tap to change, wink to start, smile to do this, or raise eyebrows to do that. सब interactions एक साथ एक filter में डाल दिए, उसमें like 4-5 interactions डाल दिए to start 4-5 different kind of animations, or to trigger some kind of object. That should not be done, because as I said, उनको experience नहीं है AR से, the users को. You should only focus on 1 or 2 interactions, 2 max. I would say just go for 1 interaction, because that comes very easy and naturally, and that way the user can have full effect of the AR experience that we're trying to give them. Another thing that's very important, like very important, is use instructions. Always use instructions while making a filter, so that instructions are basically starting में आता है ना, tap to change, smile to start, tap and hold to record. All those are instructions, and that actually help the users to understand what this is. And everyone, each and every user does look at those instructions, because if you compare filter जहाँ पे instructions are not given and one जहाँ पे given, so the one with the given is actually more easy for the users also, and it is just less frustrating, because they know what you want to, they know what to do, उनको पता है कि how to start the filter. They won't get confused कि सब जगह tap करेंगे, what to do, how to start this, वैसा नहीं होगा. So that's something that's very important. Always stick to the rules Facebook have for us. So all of us know, all of you guys know, right? There are a certain set of rules that Facebook has, policies that Facebook has for Spark creators making filters. Like text ko integrate karna hai scene mein. There should not be some obscene kind of thing used in your filter. You always take care. You always are on the always are sticking to those guidelines, because uske bina you won't be able to upload the filter anyway. So that is very basic but important. You should always remember to do that. Yeah, so these are some things you should always keep in mind. And one last thing, do you guys know how to set instructions? Have you guys done that before? I haven't really
Yes, ma'am.
mentioned that today. I'm sorry.
We have done it. I have done.
You have done it. Okay. Rest of you all, do I need to show you how to make the instructions, or I think you guys are familiar with it?
Show it once.
Okay, I'll show it once. I'm sharing the screen. Okay, can you see my Spark AI project? Guys, interact.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, great. So how we choose instructions is we go to the device option we have in the scene window. And scene window, if we go to device option, right, there's the inspector panel, we have this option of instructions. Can you see that? Custom instructions ek hai, and niche on opening karke likha hai, and there is a drop down button of choosing an instruction. So most of the time when we make filters, these ready-made interactions come handy. They are more than enough. We have different options of face tracking, target tracking, others, plane tracking, and we have all these opening instructions: open mouth to start, effect response to sound, वगैरह, say something, choose an option, tap and slide to change. All of these are available over here. You just have to choose one and insert it into the scene, and then that's it. That's all you have to do to create custom instructions. I'm sorry, to create instructions. If you want to create custom instructions, then you can go to the patch editor, and jahan pe you have selected the already pre-made instructions, wahan pe jaake you have this option of token, and you can see there's written pinch to change. So you can like change the instructions over here if that's something that's not already over there. So this is how you put instructions. Samjha?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, great. Because I also, when I started with my Spark AI journey, I did not understand how other people put instructions, and I was very confused कि अरे इनको instructions कैसे आता है, कुछ अलग feature मिला है क्या, and I did not really know how to do it. So I thought maybe if you guys have the same doubt, I could solve it right now, so you don't have to go through the dilemma कि how are others doing it and how I cannot. So yeah, that concludes our session for today. Do you guys have any questions? Anything that you did not understand that you want me to repeat or explain it to you? Because we are going to have an assignment right now, and then you have to make complete the assignment and come next time. So if you have any questions or anything, you better ask me right now. Any questions, guys? Okay, it's clear. Amazing. So we were also supposed to take segmentation today. Yeah, we will be getting the recording. You will be getting the recording section of this session. It will be mailed to you. Yeah, we were supposed to cover segmentation too today, but we couldn't because of the time. So next time we'll incorporate it the next time. Or ek kaam karta, I'll just show you what segmentation is. It's a 2-minute ka thing. Does that work? Are you guys ready to wait for 2 more minutes? I'll just show you how segmentations work, and then we'll complete the session for today. Because you guys have an assignment जिसमें segmentation करना ही है, so I'll better show it to you. फटाक से 2 seconds का काम है. Okay, I'm so sorry, I forgot. Just a second. Okay, I'm sharing the screen. So segmentation के 3 types है. There is skin segmentation, background segmentation, and hair segmentation. What you have to do is you have to go to the camera scene screen में camera option में जाओ. You right में inspect the screen में जाके देखो. You have 2 options. One for texture extraction, where you can extract the camera texture, and one is segmentation. Segmentation में you have option for person, hair, and skin. So whichever you choose, what you have to do is something you get. So segmentation is not working for Facebook. It only works for Instagram. So मैंने यहाँ पे hair segmentation लिया है अभी, or you can take skin or जो भी whatever you like, and you take you extract camera texture from over here. Then texture you will have to make a plane to make segmentations work. Go to your scene window and insert a plane, and in a plane for then you can scale it wherever you want. Just a sec. Okay, so this is my plane. I'm going to scale it a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to add a material, create new material. We are going to keep shader flat. We are going to untick depth and right to depth. And okay, so what I do normally, there are different ways to do segmentation. This is how I do it. Texture में you take camera texture, and फिर alpha में जाओ, alpha option, click on alpha option, and texture में take the segmentation mask texture that you've taken, and just a second, I'm so sorry. क्या कर रहे हो? Yeah. क्या हो रहा है? Just a second, I'm so sorry. Hold on a second. Can you see my screen?
No, ma'am.
You cannot. Oh, okay, I've stopped sharing. Yeah, I'm so sorry. ढाई घाई में मैं थोड़ा गड़बड़ कर दिया था. You don't have to take plane. You have to take a rectangle. So you should add a canvas, and canvas में you should add a rectangle, and rectangle को फिर full screen कर देना. Over here, you just click on this, you get fill width, fill height. Okay, once that's done, make a material, and material में जाके camera जो texture है main texture, उसमें camera texture लेना, and alpha में you take the segmentation that you want, and that's it. That's just it. That's how you create the segmentation. यहाँ पे मैंने skin segmentation लिया है, and I have colored it blue for you guys to understand the difference. Okay, this is how you do skin segmentation. And if you want it to be hair, so what you can do is you can go to the segmentation texture over here, and you can change it from skin to hair. So now your hair is blue. Or you can just go to person segmentation, and then your person is segmented. If you want the background to be segmented, person segmentation select karo, go to your material, go to alpha and just invert. So once you invert, your background is segmented and colored, and the person is the real person that you are. This is how you can do background segmentation. Samjha? Was I too fast? Because you have a assignment on this one, so I hope you guys understood what I just did. Or do you want me to do it again quickly?
No, ma'am, understood.
Okay, awesome, amazing. So that is segmentation for you. So we have completed everything we're supposed to do in the first session, and I'm going to give you an assignment now. You have to create the filter. I'm going to give you an assignment to create a filter basically, and you have to do that, and you have to watch the video for the second week and come back the next week. अच्छा, by the way, सबने वो last time वाला video देखा है क्या? Has everyone seen it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, amazing. Yeah, I saw your filter. You were the one who shared the filter, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it was very good. I liked it so much. It was great. Okay, so I am going to send you the link to the video, and then I'm going to also give you the assignment. I'll give you a PDF document also later on. Just a second. Okay, I'm sharing the link in the chat. This is the video that you have to go through, and I'm giving you the project kit too for the same. Try it out, maybe show it to me what you're doing. And now I'm going to give you the assignment. So your first assignment for this course is that you have to create a filter and teleport yourself into your 5 favorite places in India. You can use image or GIF using background segmentation, or else you can make hair color filter or a skin color filter. Then you can add interaction, you can add animation of click on the screen to slowly fade in and fade out of the place you're going to, and apply some effects to the face mesh. Okay, I'm going to send you a PDF of it. Did you understand what I said?
Yes, ma'am.
Cool. I'll send you the PDF in the group. That's a filter you need to make and come the next time. See you on next Saturday. Okay, you guys can leave. Sorry for extending by 7 minutes. You guys can leave now. Bye-bye.
Thank
I
you.
hope you understood. Bye-bye. I'll stop the recording.